I bought this Aucma SM1518 6.2 litre stand mixer, and I'm here to tell you why you should consider getting one, especially if you're a beginner baker in search of an affordable yet efficient stand mixer. This video is not sponsored, but rather a genuine need to point you in the right direction if you're in search of a mixer. And just so you know, I have a couple of Kenwood mixers which are slightly on the pricier side. My goal though is to help you achieve better results at your beginner baking phase with a basic, affordable, beginner friendly mixer like this Aucma, which I bought for £89.99 back in October 2021. It currently retails on Amazon for £109.99 and is described as follows. It's made from stainless steel and plastic. Its special features include a high performance pure copper motor, a 6.2 litre large stainless steel bowl with 2 handles, a 0 to 6 speed rotary knob with a pulse function, and a blue LED light as a power indicator. Additionally, the description claims to have a low noise level, vibration absorption design, and 4 strong suction cups to steady the mixer. Whatever the manufacturer says, my thoughts on this mixer will be purely based on its feel and handling, efficiency of use, and speed levels. The latter will be tested using recipes for which the various attachments will be tested. I'll be making a simple lemon cake, Swiss meringue buttercream, and a simple pizza dough, which didn't seem to go as I wanted, but we had pizza in the end, so stay tuned for that and more. I delayed an earlier review of this mixer because I wanted to feel and observe it over time for its use, but my first observation after unboxing it was its plastic shell and very lightweight. Presented in wrappings of plastic for protection, the mixer included a bowl, a whisk, and a beater attachment, a dough hook, and a see-through pot or bowl cover, also known as a splash guard. The 4 suction cups noted in the manufacturer's description appeared as 5 cups on here, a bonus of +1 for me, which will become extremely useful as we go along. The mixer has a tilt head convenient for access into the bowl, but snaps back vigorously if not handled carefully. With my first impressions noted, let's jump to using the mixer and I'll be back to give you my thoughts. For starters, I'm making a simple lemon cake using the beater. The ingredients and quantity for this cake is noted on screen and in the description box below. In the stainless steel bowl, the sugar, floral margarine, and lemon zest are creamed together for 4 minutes. The mixer is stopped and head tilted mid-session to scrape the bowl from within. Creaming continues for another 2 minutes. The eggs are added, which is beaten for another 3 minutes before flour, lemon juice, and buttermilk are added. The bowl is again scraped in to mix the batter all together and set back to mix for another 20 seconds. When the lemon cake batter is done, it is divided into 2 7-inch tins, baking a little over 2 inch deep in a preheated oven at 170 degrees C for 55 minutes to an hour and 5 minutes. My observation during the creaming process is as follows. The bowl is fixed easily into place and the creaming beater screwed perfectly in the output shaft without fiddling. This may have been because I had gotten used to the mixer for the last 18 months, but still, being able to do so smoothly is a plus for this mixer. During the creaming process, speed 0 obviously did nothing, and I found 1 to 3 were slightly slow for purpose. Speed number 4 was just right for the creaming, which I imagined could pass for a medium-high speed. Worth noting, the creaming of the sugar and margarine was completed at a total time of 6 minutes with the mixer steadily in place thanks to the suction cups underneath, and the sound wasn't really bad. The eggs were initially added in at speed 2 and raised to 4 for another 3 minutes. Flour, lemon juice, and milk were added at speed 2. The time it took to make the lemon cake batter was about 15 to 17 minutes, with the mixer working for almost 40 minutes of that time without any issues. Next is the Swiss meringue buttercream, which was made using the whisk attachment. The recipe details, quantities, and how to make it is linked in an old video up here for you. And for purposes of reviewing this mixer, I'm going to be skipping to the parts that's relevant to the use of this mixer. After the sugar and egg whites are cooked over a double boiler, it is transferred into the bowl to be whisked. Be aware the bowl, including the tools that comes into contact with the egg mixture, has to be cleaned thoroughly to cleanse off any grease. Cream of tartar is added to the egg syrup, the bowl set in place with the splash guard and the whisk attached to the shaft. The egg white syrup is whipped until medium peaks for almost 10 minutes at speed 6, which is the highest on the dial. After 10 minutes and the meringue at its stiff peaks, 80 grams of icing sugar is then added. This is mixed into the meringue, whisking for another 2 to 3 minutes to finish this phase, and the mixer is turned off. The bowl is slightly warm, hence wrapped in cling film and set aside for 10 minutes to cool. After the bowl of meringue is brought back and set back in the mixer, the butter is added in bits at speed 4 before raised to speed 6, whipping for another 5 minutes continuously. Vanilla is added for flavor, and our buttercream is now done. The whole process of making the buttercream took 25 minutes, and the mixer held its own even with the highest speed running for up to 10 minutes at a time. The bowl, whisk attachment, steadiness of the mixer, and speed efficiency worked out just fine. While the Aucma may not necessarily be in competition with Kenwood, I found the beating and whisking speeds were nearly the same. Also, it is worth noting that while the entire buttercream, excluding cooling time, took about 25 minutes to complete, the mixer was almost in use at speed 6 for almost 18 minutes of that time. Running the mixer at 5-minute intervals for the 10-minute times meant, though the mixer ran longer, it was still safe to do so. The cover, also known as the splash guard, was steady in place thanks to the soft grips that slid into the markers on the mixer head. With the use of the whisk attachment and efficiency of the mixer noted, let's move on to the next stage. It's time to test the mixer efficiency by making a pizza dough. Now, for your information, the dough recipe is a traditionally made dough passed on to me by an Italian friend who eyeballs her ingredients and mixes them by hand. So my attempt at using the mixer is a close estimation of her process. Even so, I started part of the mixing process adding water to oil in a bowl which was set aside. Flour, yeast, and sugar were measured into the stainless steel bowl, and the oily liquid from earlier added. The dough hook was set to mix the dough with the following observations. Speed 1 to 3 hardly moved the dough or attempted a mix at all. The dough hook dispersed the flour around the bowl, and after 3 minutes, I increased the speed to 4, which dispersed the flour even more without any indication of mixing the flour into the liquid. At speed 6, without the bowl cover, the flour began to powder the air without making any mixes. I realized understanding the process better would have aided my use of the mixer more efficiently for this process. Determined to make the best of the situation, I attempted to pre-mix the dough by hand first before kneading the rest with the mixer. After setting the pre-mixed dough back on the mixer at speed 4, the mixer shook my work surface like an earthquake. I gave up after a minute of kneading with the dough hook, and surprisingly, the dough turned out just as I liked it. For the dough mixer dough, the outcome and efficiency were still positive, and any inadequacies were my issue, especially with an unsteady work table that shook vigorously. The grips on the bottom of the mixer were a saver for this part, and I realized I should have had the bowl cover, which should have saved me from the unwanted splash of flour. So far, we've made a cake, buttercream, and pizza dough, which in themselves were served up as dinner for my household after I was done testing. But what are my final thoughts on this mixer? I would highly recommend this mixer with a marking of 8 out of 10 if I didn't have my Kenwood bias. Additional observations to add are as follows. There is a raised point in the middle of the bowl, meaning the attachment can reach into the bottom of the bowl, making the mixing of ingredients a little more even. For any other mixer dough, there will always be an expectation of having to scrape the bowl by hand with a spatula to hurry the process on, but this mixer still mixes evenly at least. On the downside, I wonder if the quantities were too small and what the outcome would have been if I had increased the quantities. That said, the intention was not to push the mixer beyond its limit, but to observe it for fair use. Hence, recommendations are made in the manufacturer's manual for quantities that the mixer can contain. The shaft output has a ring that looks like it's likely to spring out of place anytime, but after 18 months of fair use, it remains intact. I would have loved a spatula with the mixer instead of an egg separator, but for the price, I guess I got exactly what I paid for. And the blue light flashing when the mixer is plugged in but not in use is slightly bothersome, but that's purely a personal preference. While I highly recommend this mixer, a hand mixer could make a cake with similar quantities, and you can watch the outcome of a hand mixer against my Kenwood 330 in a video showing on screen. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.